Kazarian taking on Glam Rock's Shannon Moore. Now, Glam Rock's Shannon Moore. What's that about?
Let me tell you something, brother. Yeah, that's probably one of Hogan's ideas. Definitely, I don't know where Glam Rocks and Mohawks come into one, but if there was, it would be Shannon Moore, and all too evident on this week's TNA Impact. Why not have them draw? We said it before. They need to build this solidly, and once again they've dropped it.
Yeah, it looks like Glam Rock's Shannon Moore took on Kazarian, and indeed they worked great together. They did some stuff in the ring, but as I say, no sign of Doug Williams this week, but it looked like Kaz pinned Moore, and he is still the X Division champion. Now, you must have been very happy this week, because for a few weeks you've been waiting for that Samoa Joe return. Now, a few weeks ago, Samoa Joe kidnapped or something. He was bundled into a back of a van. But this week, it seems like they just said, actually, let's just put Joe back on TV. We don't need to talk about any of that stuff. Put him back on like he was 2 years ago. Over as you can be.
Yeah, it's absolutely great, I have to say. Well, at least we know there was no alien abductions, so we're grateful for that much. But Joe is back with a bang, and a big bang at that. Looking strong and looking legit. Sometime before he left, he was sporting some crazy tattooed face kind of thing, gimmick, and trying to make him that bit more badass, but it didn't really go over too well, and now he's just back. Excuse me. Now he's just back, legit Joe, straight up, hard ass, and Joe's gonna kill you basically, and that he did when he took over the ring on this past week's Impact.
Samoa Joe is back on TNA. Let's get to the chat room now. We're live here on justin.tv/WrestleDope, and if you don't make it for the advertised time, then you can just check it straight away here on the archives and YouTube as well. Let's go right back, because people are talking about all the TNA action this week, and let's see, we have Jay Morrison wants RVD versus Kurt Angle. I think that's a great tip for a future match at some point. IWS, they gave a dream match away on free TV, Styles and RVD.
Yep, I mean, they've done it many times before, so why not do it again? It is kind of WCW Nitro territory, where you're giving away those big quality matches that you can really get a big build off just live on a Monday night, and if it pulls people in, well and good, but we haven't really seen much success of that, especially with the 0.5 on this previous Impact.
Wow, 0.5, that is a shocker. Spike TV, they're going to be looking at pulling that soon. I know it's a small digital channel, but they'd be used to getting audiences a bit higher than that. But saying that, whenever a live program is put on, it should do something for an audience figure. And indeed, TNA finding it tough every single week now. How long more are they going to be on Monday nights?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think the rest of the year is going to be a close call. I think, where are we now? Just hitting May, so I don't know. I'd be curious to see in September, October, if TNA Impact still has that live Monday night slot.
Ace Crusher, TNA doesn't grasp the concept of building matches up that might sell pay-per-views. They never have, and now that they are on Mondays, they are even further behind the 8 ball, because they are stuck trying to play the ratings game, which is preposterous. And that a very valid comment from you, Ace Crusher. I know you're often in here in the room, and indeed thank you for joining us. Tom says if TNA was live every week, they would do much better, and I think we both agree on that one. If they were live and we knew it, we'd probably set up the 2 screens and watch Raw and Impact side by side.
Yeah, I think they need to be. It was the biggest downfall, because at first I think we both were, is it live or is it live every other week? And when we found it was every other week, it just wasn't the same. It's not as legit, and then you have the spoilers, and we all know to really get stuff over, it just takes that live show, any pay-per-view, any Raw, and any live Impact every other week, it does have that buzz about it, and it can kind of fall to the wayside a little bit when it's every other week, and I just don't know why they do it, really.
Ace Crusher says, one positive thing I will say about TNA over the last few months was that Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson at Lockdown was fantastic. And on that subject, Kurt Angle v Mr. Anderson, I really enjoyed this one. I think this feud could go maybe further. I know they've had a few encounters now. The one thing I didn't like about that one was, of course, the use of that medal from the soldier. I mean, come on, this is sort of kid stuff. You're not going to get a guy over by constantly attacking him with a medal that's a couple of inches small. I mean, attack him with a pipe like Sheamus, but certainly don't miss out on an opportunity to sort of beef a storyline up. I mean, why do it like that? But anyway, we never quite know. I mean, the Hall of Fame ring was back in this week's episode in a big way. In fact, it was Hall of Fame ring versus Hall of Fame ring, with Ric Flair taking on Abyss in that main event. But before we get to that, what else did we have? It was a pretty forgettable match between Hardy, Jarrett and Sting. I mean, they did some stuff in the rafters, but ultimately it was over very, very quickly. And indeed, Hardy left standing on the ladder, about to take one of those big bumps, but not to happen. And Sting getting the pin in the rafters stairs. I mean, where do you think they are going to go with this? Is it going to be Hardy versus Jeff Jarrett? Is it going to be Sting, Jeff Jarrett long term? I mean, I know we've got Sacrifice coming up very soon, that next TNA pay-per-view. Where do you think they're going to go with these three guys working on TV?
I think it's just a small little angle to give them roles, because everybody else seems to be tied up for the heavyweight title picture and the X Division titles and stuff, and most of those guys are kind of top tier bracket with Hardy, Sting and Jarrett and whatnot, and it's just a nice little program for them to work, just to be present on TV and just get themselves still involved with the product without even having to have a belt or whatever, that they just have presence and they're big name talent on the show each and every week, and it's a nice little spot for them, I think. But
then, of course, the Pope, who came out with an injured arm and interrupted Mr. Anderson. Now, I think that's where it's starting to get interesting. The Pope v Mr. Anderson. These are two guys that were let down badly by the WWE. Both had the potential to go far, could cut a promo and work, and the fans were getting behind them. And I thought at one point Mr. Kennedy was the next Stone Cold. Both those guys were let down. They're in TNA now. How do you think this feud could go?
Yeah, I think very well. I think both of them, like you say, were so over that it wasn't even funny, and they really never got their chance to shine. So on both sides, both are incredible on the mic. Both you don't get bored by. You don't want to skip past their promos. Even their ring matches, and from the entrance right the way till the pinfall, you want to watch every moment because you know it's golden stuff, and there's not many you can say that about, I think, in the business these days.
Yeah, it's something that is tricky. I mean, you need to buy a guy's work. You need to be sort of behind him. I think if you're not tipping a guy to be the next Stone Cold, if you don't think he has the potential to be the next anybody, then you're going to forget about him and he's going to get lost in that mix. And I think it happens a lot with The Office. But, I mean, from the start, they put the guy who's now the Pope, D'Angelo, De Niro, in with that Sylvester Turkey, and indeed Sylvester was coming down to the ring with him for a long time. Now I know Sylvester, a bit of a legit badass, so I mean I wouldn't say anything bad about him, but without a doubt Sylvester Turkey was not the right way for Elijah Burke. But with the right way, what would the right way have been? Well, it's quite simple. He's cutting promos now and doing them very well, so why wasn't he doing it all along? He was in the ring with McMahon at one point, and it looked like that was sort of the Drew McIntyre tip of the hat that McMahon gave to McIntyre a while back, but he turned out to not be the next protege, or at least the sort of hope from McMahon was not the same, because he ended up getting released, and here he is in TNA.